Good thing happens to those who wait patiently. So this is lesson number 6, slightly longer than your expected lesson, but wait, this contains the best of both worlds. In the previous lesson, we learned about fixtures, and this lesson we will learn about page object model. And when you clap these two hands together, that is when you feel the heaven. That is where we will see the page object model coming together with fixtures, and you will see the beauty of the code. So let's get started. Today we will be looking at a very critical concept of test automation, which is some of the design patterns of how you can interact with your test and how you can group things, how you can make things reusable and simplify maintenance and simplify authoring of the code. So this concept is called page object models. That is what we would be looking at. The example over here is not great on the documentation. So I'm gonna improve on this example. So they might update this documentation later. So I'm just showing you what it is right now and how we will improve it. So to improve anything, you need to look at what is it right now. So they are saying we are going to the playwright.dev website and we are grouping things according to page level objects. So page object model is basically a higher level API that we create through which we interact with certain elements of the page and they are grouped together. For example, this is talking about the get started link, and then this is talking about, let's see, the installation text and so on. So it's also looking at the guides, and so guides is over on the left hand side. If you look at guides, we've got guides link and we have got the page object model link, which is this page. So it is basically creating a basic API to group certain things and creating the selectors. So we have got page, we have got get started link. So in future, imagine if a engineer changes one of the elements like H1 to H2, so you don't have to change all of the test where it was used. You would just go to the page object model class for this, for example, playwright dev page, and would just update H1 to H2, similar to how a dev engineer has updated the feature code. So it just makes your life easy and you don't have to make multiple changes every time your feature code updates. So that's a really good thing. And it makes things consistent because everybody's using the same methods in the same way. So it's good for collaboration as well in that sense. So there are multiple teams who are implementing different designs patterns. So some people choose atomic design pattern because that's a really good concept for Vue.js feature code, where we are implementing atoms and then we are building on top of it by combining atoms into molecules and then organisms. But the question is, does that design pattern suit your test suite as well? So it depends on the decision you make and the long-term impact of it. For me, the Playwright documentation is talking about page object models. So I'm going to just describe that in this lesson. So we'll just choose that as a default design pattern that is used commonly everywhere. So let's start with this. Okay. So in what can we improve in this example? I guess, first of all, if you are doing a page object model, start with like writing a test and then converting it into a page object model rather than doing it other way around. So there's a bottom-up approach where you just write the class and then think of like where I can use the method. That is sometimes really like sometimes you write more code that you're not going to use it later. So there's a Yagni principle, like you're not going to use it. So why write that code? Why write that piece of code now? When you need to use it, just write it then, so that you don't have to maintain a method that you will never use. So we will start with the top-down approach, where we are going to look at writing a test and then we will convert that into a page object model. And don't forget the topic of the previous lecture, which was fixtures. So page object model is doing encapsulation, page object model is doing simplifying maintenance, reusable code. And if you look at fixtures was doing something similar. If I search for the word reusable, it was doing encapsulation, reusable, composable, grouping. Page object model does the grouping as well, flexible. So if you remember the theta example that I gave in the fixtures video, fixtures are things that test needs to operate, right? So the environment, for example, in the theta example, the lights and the curtains, those were the fixtures and the tests were the people on the stage. So in the page object model, the page object model is a high level concept. So what we are doing is we are creating an API, and we will pass this API to the test so that test can operate. Now, one is a high level concept and another is a method. Fixtures is a method of like passing things into the test. For example, here we had page as a fixture, but that is not page object model. But here we have got like a API of this page so that we can interact with this page, which is playwright.dev, and we can use the method of the fixtures to extend that page and pass extend the base class and extend and pass it through here like a fixture. So we will have the benefits of both worlds. So that's the one thing that I want to improve in this example. So let's start writing some code, because we have been doing a lot of theory. So Visual Studio Code. All right, so we have got our Visual Studio Code in front of us, and I'm gonna just increase the font size so that we can look at what's going on here. All right, so I've increased the font size for us, and now we should be able to look at the code. I'm gonna create a new test for this. So let's see, say pom example.spec.ts. So in this pom example, we will just write a test. So I'm gonna pick import test expect. Let me delete the other two files so that we don't get confused with additional code in this example. So I've picked up the import, and now I'm going to write a test. Let's start with the simple one. So test2 basically should show page object model article. I'm going to copy paste that. Now remember, we don't have the class over here. So as I said, I'm going to start from top down approach, where I've got everything here in front of me. So this new class, the goto function, what is the goto function doing here? I'm just going to bring that into the test. So it's doing a goto and then dot get started. So let's see what get started was doing. I'm going to copy this so that we can look at what get started was doing. And it's calling the get started link method. So get started link is, where's the get started? Oh, so this is a get started link. So I'm going to copy this here. What else is this test doing? So we have got the goto, we have got the page object model, and then expect. So originally, if you were writing the test without any page object model, it would have looked like this. So let's understand what it is doing. So it is going to the page playwright.dev, and then it is looking for a locator, which is a hyperlink A, and then checks if it has got a get started text on it, and it picks the first one if there are multiple get links, and then it clicks on it. Next, it checks the get started header. So this dot get started header. So the get started header is this. So I'm going to copy that because I don't have this. So I'm going to put the whole element here. So next it was checking the heading, installation is visible, and then it was checking the article. So page object model, it had the expect within it as well, which I tend to not like. I don't like the approach of putting expect statements, like hiding them away and encapsulating it inside a library, so an API. So page object model is again a higher level, like they said, higher level API. It is not a higher level test. The test should happen over here. So we will improve this example in the documentation. We will make sure that we don't make the same mistakes. So let's try to run this test. So I'm gonna run this test by running npx playwright test, but I want to run in headed mode. And yeah, let's just do that. So it ran the test and it says that it failed running the test. So because it was opening multiple windows, it's really hard to debug like what's going on with the test. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cancel this. I will rerun the test, but this time I will make sure that the test is running only on one browser. So I'm going to go to the documentation on the left hand side. It shows some of the commands, and I can just say run test against project Chromium. Let's try that. So now it's running one test using one worker. Previously you saw that it was running one test on 3 workers, and now it didn't open multiple windows, so it's straightforward. Now it says locator article. It couldn't find a locator article. So it waited for 5 seconds, but it couldn't find it. So I'm gonna rerun this test in the trace viewer. Trace is equal to on. If you are not sure about anything, just go back to the documentation and you can look into, like for example, on the left we have got trace viewer. I'm gonna look into the syntax trace space on, so it's not equal to trace space on. And again, I wanted to run it on one project, so headed project is equal to Chromium, and this is trace on. So now it has opened a test report for me, and now I can look into the test report and look at the trace. So this was the test that was failing. If I look at the trace, not as a file inside the trace viewer, it was expecting the locator article here. So let's see if there was an article locator present on this page. So page, it was looking for article. Page object model is a common pattern. So it was still on the installation page. So we did not navigate to another page here. If we are looking for page object model is common pattern, we should have navigated to another page. So let's go back and look at the test. Did we miss anything in this example? So page object model, it says this.pomlink.click. So we missed this.pomlink.click. So pomlink is this. So I'm going to copy this inside my test, and I'm going to put this and add the dot click which was written over there. So hopefully it will go to the right location this time. So let's run it again. Yep, we could see that it was going to the right location and it passed the test. All right, so now we have got an example of a test which is basically, we did a reverse engineering of the page object model to show you what the test look like without the implementation of the interface, API interface for the page object model. So how can we create a page object model from this test? First of all, I don't like that this test is checking 2 different things. So as a automation tester, my first instinct is to separate that into 2 tests. So I'm gonna just for my own benefit. So the actual test should show page object model article. So this is the actual test, and this is where we were supposed to go. So this expect was not needed. So I'm going to delete this or move it into a separate test. So I'll move it into a separate test. So test get started link is working, and I'll just add page. So now I've separated that into 2 tests. So let's try both of them. You know, in our initial lectures, I've shown you how to run the test directly from here. So we can quickly test if that test is working fine. It won't, because we don't have the go-to link. So I'm gonna add that go-to link. because the page, there's no page, so it's just checking something that does not exist. Yeah, so I'm gonna run it again. Yeah, so that passed. I'm gonna run this one. You can see the green tick over here, which means it passed. You can look at the test pass at the bottom. That also tells you if it passed. So now this is failing again. What's the reason for the failure? Page.goto, we're doing it correctly. Locator, we are finding it the right locator. Okay, because if you go to the playwright.dev website, as you can see, you don't see the documentation link. You have to click on the get started link. So this is the actual page that we should have opened in this test. So those are two different pages that it is testing. So I'm gonna give it a direct link now, and you can see the test passed. So this click was taking us to the next page. So now you can see that there are two different pages, and this, yeah. So now you can see that there are two different pages. This was testing the get started link on the landing page, and this was testing the guides link and the page object model text and the article on the documentation page. So what should you do in this scenario? First of all, you don't need to separate the test into two different files. You can have the test in one file. But if you have two pages, they should have two separate folders. So I'm going to create a folder on the parent level, page object models. We can think of a better naming later on. Right now I'm just going to call it page object model, and one is, I'm going to say landing page model dot ts, and another one I will create and call it intro. So they are calling it intro in the URL. So docs, or we could call it docs intro. So, and I mean, naming is the most difficult part when writing code. So intro, let's call it docs page model.ts. Okay, because I'm just taking the first one from here. So landing and a docs page. Now how do we create the class for them? If you go back to the documentation for page object model, you can look at this example. This is done really, really well. Like you don't have to copy the expect. I mean, I'd really discourage doing the expect within the API classes. So you can copy the rest of it. And since we know that both are like dumbed down versions of each other, I'm gonna copy the whole example. So we have got the whole class here. I'm gonna rename this to landing page model, and in the landing page we have got a page. So we need the page. I'm gonna leave the page as is. We have got a get started link, so that's fine. Get started header, nope, that's not here. So we will get rid of the get started header and the remaining. So the editor will complain about the rest of the things. So it just makes life easy for you to delete everything and make a cut down version of this page. So we go to you would go to this location, that is fine. Get started header, nope, that is not right. And I will get rid of the expect from here so that I'm sure that we are not using it, and we don't have the POM link, and we don't need the whole page object model in here. There you go. So we have got a go to and get started. So this is your first page object model, which contains elements of the page, and you have got a complete definition of the get started page. To visualize it, what does it look like? If you go to playwright.dev, this is what I'm talking about. This is what it looks like. It has only got the get started link that we can interact with. So And if this page grows, for example, if you want to include this button or check in images, we will add code over here. So I'm going to use that now inside the test code. This is called landing page models. So I'm going to go back to my test. And if you take an example from this code here, this is how they did an import. I'm going to do the same way, like import the landing page model. So landing page model from dot forward slash, so it is not in the same directory. I'm going to do dot dot forward slash page object models forward slash landing page model. So it does it for me. So landing page model, I'm going to make sure that it is exported. Yeah, make sure this keyword is there, export class. So it is there. Now first we will do it without the fixtures, and then we will include the fixtures. So without the fixtures, you have to do new, and then you have to pass in page, and you can say, what did they call it? So they call it constant playwright dev. So we can say LPM, not a great name, landing page model, and then you could do stuff like LPM dot go to. And if you go to the landing page model, you can see that go to is an async function, so you need to do an await. So await. So I don't know what's the major benefit. I mean, actually, I do know what's the major benefit of doing a go to rather than passing the link here, because then when the link updates, you can just go to the API reference or page object model over here there and change that. So I'm gonna get rid of that. So go to is basically taking me to the page. Locator, get started. So let's see what method we have for that. And again, for all of those methods, we would have await. So get started. Let's see what get started does. Get started basically clicks on the get started link. So it does a get started link. And then the next thing is the expect, which checks we are on the right page. So right now the test is basically, it has got more knowledge, like what is on the next page. We are only checking that link is working. So there is always a better way to check if the page has moved, or the click link has worked, or that thing was a link. But for now, we'll leave that because we're not discussing that topic. So I'm going to rerun this test and see if our page object model is actually working. Yep. So you can see the test has passed. Now, how do I use fixtures with this? By the way, you do exactly the same thing with this page, or the article page, and have a separate file for it, like we created, and you would have another import here for docs page. So same thing, docs page model, and here docs page model. And let me copy, let me do it for you so you have a better understanding. I'm going to copy this again, won't take much time. Docs page model. I'm going to delete the expect. I'll get rid of the get started links and the get started stuff here, and this will throw errors on this one. And this is saying when I go to that function does not exist, and this link was incorrect, as we know. So we should just go to the docs / intro, I guess. In theory, I mean, now because of the page object model, I can see that there is a duplication. Like we are going to an installation page and then going to the page object model page. So you could potentially go directly to the page object model page here and completely get rid of that link click. But again, we are not doing optimization, so I'm going to keep it like that. We have got docs model page. I will do the same thing, which is like that here, but this is docs page model, docs page model, dpm dot go to, because we already did the intro over there, I don't need to go back and fix that. Then this whole big locator, I don't need this whole big locator for doing the click. I could do, if I look at a docs page model, I can just do page object model, and then it will do that ugly bit here. So dpm dot page object model. The method names are not great, but I'm gonna live with that for this video. Page object model, and then we are doing the expect here, and let's see if the test works. Yay, it worked. So you can see that we have created two page object models. One is for the landing page, another is for the docs page. So that is how you do page object model. Now, again, when I said we will use fixtures, we will go one step beyond this, and I'm gonna go to the documentation for fixtures and pass these as fixtures into the test. So with fixtures, you could potentially do import test as base, could potentially do it like that. Let's see. It's just an experiment. It's always good to do the experiment. So we have got test already. So it is complaining. I'm gonna get rid of this one. Let's just do it separately. I think it would make more sense to keep them separate. There you go. We have got test as base and this. Now to extend it, we will do constant test is equal to base.extend. Okay, we need to import two fixtures. So I'm gonna use the example of this type fixtures. So first we will declare the two types. So we have got the landing page model and we have got the docs page model. So I'm gonna put them as same, but the variable name starts with lowercase, so I'm gonna make them lowercases. After that, I will copy the example of this. So let me get rid of this example here. So far, I've just done this. I've not done anything else. I've imported test as base, and then using this base here. And let me close the brackets. Okay. So instead of to-do page, we have got a landing page. So I'm gonna put landing page here, and the landing page here, landing page here. And then if you remember, we do await and use landing page. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing with the docs. Making sure that this D is capital because that's a class name. So landing page model, landing page model, landing page model, docs page model, docs page model, docs page model. So all I've done is I've imported test as base, fixtures, landing page model, docs page model. I've defined a type because we're using TypeScript. I specified the type here, which is my fixtures, and these are the to fixtures. Now, if you look at it, this can be used in a test. So I'm gonna move this, like this whole thing, into a separate folder. Or yeah, let's move it into like fixtures. So I'm gonna create a new file here, fixtures.ts, and this thing that we just did, I'm going to move that into fixtures here, and this test, let's move that into fixtures here. So and we need to import these two models. So I'm gonna just do an import landing page model from landing page model. Wow, it already did it for me. Docs page model from docs page model. So we have got all the things. So this is our fixture. Now we are gonna use this by calling my test. So my test was this file name in this example. So in our case, it is a fixtures file name. So I'm gonna pull in that file basically. So if you remember, this is the current example. This is what it looks like right now, and it will change. So I'm gonna let me just copy this and comment this out. So I'm commenting it out, and I've copied it. So I'm gonna paste it, and this is where I'm changing. So you can see how much less the code would be with using fixtures and page object model together. So do we need this? I don't think we need this anymore, because all this is inside the fixtures. So I'm gonna use it like this. So test from / page object model / fixtures. Okay. And it also had this line of like exporting expect. So I'm going to put that in here. So we are exporting test and we are exporting expect from the fixtures file. We will talk about how to better organize files in a bit, but let's just look at this. Test and expect, we have got it from fixtures. Now we don't need this. Why? Because we can directly get it here. So like in this example, we were getting the fixtures in here. So in this example, we can just get the landing page model here. So you could just say landing page model, wherever we're saying that, and we can get rid of that. And for this particular expect, you might need this particular like you might need the page, but in theory you could move this installation into the other fixture, into the other page object model for the docs, because this is a part of the docs, right? So this refactoring that we are doing is going to put the link. So let's see, read only installation locator, and we can say this dot installation is equal to that locator, and this is inside the docs page model. So if I go back to our test, I can put comma docs page model. Okay, so it has this is landing page model and then docs page model. So I can do docs page model dot installation to be visible. So let's run that particular test. I'm gonna comment this out for a bit so that we can run this only. And it works. Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same for the other test. I'm gonna use the fixtures for docs page model, and we don't need this. We can do docs page model dot go to and docs page model dot page object model, and this article locator can live inside the docs page model. So I'm going to docs page model dot article, and inside the docs page model we can create another one, which is read only article locator, and do the same here. This dot article is equal to this. So in here we have got the article locator, and we are checking if it matches a test. So I'm going to run this test. There you go. So all tests are passing now. And if you compare, previously we had like 1 line, 2, 3, 4, and we had some locator logic here. Now we have got 3 lines and we have got the fixtures coming in. Same for this one. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, and then some mixture. Here we don't have any kind of locators here. We have just got a test, simple test, checking the actual text, and everything that we don't need is encapsulated. If you just compare the code, as I always say, code should be like poetry. So there you go, folks. So we have got docs page model as our first page object model, landing page model as our second page model. And this is so much better than the actual documentation itself. So if people who are writing this documentation are looking at this video, I would request you to improve it, because this is sending a wrong example for all the testers, and we want testers to write good code, and Playwright is empowering them, so their documentation should do that too. Was I not right? The page object model, when combined with fixtures, they make the code so simple and easy to read. It's like poetry. And please, 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 I would like to request everyone who's watching this video, do not put your expect statements inside the page object model. They are your API, they are not your test. Your tests are the test files. So make sure you keep the expect statements within the test. Thank you for watching again. See you in the next video.